Good evening, everyone. American Center Tashkent is happy to welcome everyone at our virtual chai chat. My name is Gulshan, and I'm so excited to introduce our speaker today, Brian Tyers. Hi, Brian.
Hi, everybody.
Brian is a career member of the U.S. Department of State Foreign Service and currently the Information Management Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Mr. Tyers joined the State Department in 2009, following careers in teaching, management, and IT. And he was an English language Peace Corps volunteer in Tashkent. He served in many countries, including Russia, Malaysia, Kuwait, Libya, and Bulgaria. And he holds several IT certifications. And we're so excited that we'll hear from him today about 5 things that keeps him up at night as a cybersecurity specialist. And as usual, we encourage everyone to participate in today's program. Please do type your questions in the comment section, both on Facebook and YouTube if you have questions, and we'll have Brian answer them in real time. Thanks so much, Brian, for coming. Thanks for your time, and I really hope we'll learn something new from you today. I know that, and I'm giving the floor to you.
Thanks, Gulshan. Hi, everybody. First, I want to apologize to everyone who turned into this broadcast to see if the facial hair in my picture was real. It was real. Sadly, that face was a pre-COVID face, and masks don't do very well with large mustaches, so I've had to go back down to something more reasonable. I will try my hardest this winter to approximate something as ridiculous as I had last year. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. There are a couple of things that I want to throw out there. If I'm speaking too fast, if there is a point that you have a question with, please keep the comments and the questions coming constantly. Don't wait till the end. So I've presented a lot to audiences here in Uzbekistan and all over the world. I try my best to try and slow down and not use too many idioms or keep my accent nice and clean. But if it gets bad, by all means, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. Some of these things will be kind of high concept and complicated. I'm going to try and break them down to be simple. The other thing to note on here is I'm not presenting any answers. I'm going to describe a lot of problems that we as a society, we as a human race are going to come across in the next 3 to 15 years, but I don't have nothing in this presentation is going to give you an answer. These are all questions that I want you as an individual to think about. So without further ado, I am going to switch over to my presentation and stop looking at my own face and look at my presentation. Okay, so the topic here is 5 things that keep me up at night. Okay, we're going to dig right in. So the first question is the value of your thoughts. Okay, what is the value of your thoughts? So in this picture is 2 pigs talking about how great the free model is. So here is the problem. If you currently use a service, whether that is Google or VKontakte or Facebook or any free service, if it is free, you are the product. That company is taking your information and reselling it to their advertisers in order to target you for marketing. Now, there's not a problem with this, but the problem is you may not realize that you are taking part in a transaction every time you type a question into a Google search, or every time you post a picture on Instagram or on TikTok. Every time you do that, you have entered into a transaction. Currently, there is no premium Facebook subscription. Currently, no one is being paid for their ideas or their Google searches. So the question becomes, should you be paid every time you post something to Facebook? So I know everyone listening here has all read the fine print on their Facebook or their Kontakte or their Instagram accounts, and read in there that it says essentially when you post a picture to any of these platforms, the platform then has the right to keep those pictures and use them to advertise to other people. If you were a photographer, you would ask that somebody pay you for your work. Currently, these companies are making billions of dollars on your free information. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that anyone needs to cancel their Facebook account or that anybody needs to go out there and protest. But what you do need to do is educate yourself, educate your friends and your family that these companies are not charities. You can't vote for them and vote them out. They're businesses and they only exist to make money. As we grow into adults, this is easier to understand. For younger children, this is a difficult concept to understand. So in America right now, we have a number of voice assistants. So I'm sure you've all heard of Siri and Alexa, Cortana to some extent, and then just the Google search. So the problem here is with these entities is it's very easy to forget that they belong to a company and that you're not dealing with a person. So every time you ask Alexa a question, this is the same as typing in a question. The scarier part comes when you are trusting what Alexa tells you. Right now, when you're on a computer or maybe your phone and you type in a Google search, you might get a number of results that you can choose which websites to go to. When you use a voice assistant, typically you are only getting one result, and that is the result that you may trust. This isn't a problem if you are asking for the population of Zimbabwe. This becomes more problematic when you ask questions that have real-world consequences for your decisions. So if you get to a point where you are asking, what should I do in this situation? Should I tell my friend that her boyfriend is cheating? If you're asking Alexa this, there's no right or wrong answer, or maybe there is, but you can't trust that Alexa is going to give you an answer that is necessarily going to be good for you. She's going to give you an answer that is good for Amazon. Again, I don't have a solution here. Every year, there are more and more Internet of Things. There's more and more devices that are in our lives. And we are becoming more and more reliant upon just a very few tech companies. Someday, it may change where they may be paying us for our thoughts. But for today, we are the product. So that keeps me up at night. Okay, next, privacy. What if privacy is an illusion and always was? Okay, so if we think back 75 years ago, maybe more in some cities, 100 years ago, we all lived in villages. And in the village, everybody knew everybody else's business. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew whose father was an alcoholic. Everybody knew whose mother didn't want to work. Everybody knew everyone's business. There was no such thing as privacy. As humans, as we started to move into cities, especially large urban centers, we started to have the idea that we had something called privacy. So this is the idea that the things that you did, the things that you said, no one else could see. And so we brought this concept with us into the future and into the 90s when we developed the internet, where suddenly it felt even more like we had a sense of privacy. You could be anonymous online, and it felt anonymous because you would be sitting at home in a dark room, looking at a screen and typing whatever you wanted, or filming whatever you wanted, watching whatever you wanted, and it didn't seem like anybody could see what you were doing. That's not true. And I want everyone on this broadcast right now to realize that there is no such thing as anonymity. There is no such thing as being private on the internet. We all need to think of the internet as a courtyard on the street with people in buildings watching us all the time, people recording what you're doing. So back 150 years ago, when you walked down the street and you said something stupid, the only people that would know were the people who happened to be right next to you. And you could then later deny that you ever said or did anything stupid because just a couple people saw it. Today on the internet, that is not the case. So right now, if you take a picture of yourself or of something or a video, or you post something on the internet, not only is it never anonymous, but it is there forever. Everything that you do online is there forever. Again, it may seem like it is deleted, and you might even belong to a service like Snapchat or Telegram that tells you that they have deleted your messages. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. Those messages still exist. They are still on their servers, and every picture that you post, every picture that you send is still available on the internet. Now, that doesn't mean that it's easy to get today, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. So I'm here to suggest to you that there is no such thing as privacy on the internet. So you can do what you can with various services. Facebook has very complicated and ever-changing privacy settings that you can go in and control who can see your stuff and who can see your friends of friends, and that's fine. And to some extent, Facebook relies on you to trust them as both you, the product, and the customer. However, what I'm suggesting to you is everything that has ever been posted on the internet is still there and can be retrieved. So what that means is I had the advantage of growing up never having to worry that the things I said or did would come back to haunt me. That's not true for many of you. Someday, some of you may want to work for the government, or you may want to become a celebrity, or you may want to do something where someone will investigate your background. And it's very likely that they are going to come across some of the dumb things that you said and that you've posted in your youth. So this is a plea from me as a cybersecurity professional to you as an individual to think about your future self. And that while right now it may seem cool to post something that's controversial or something that makes other people angry, trolling can be appealing, I understand. But what I'm suggesting to you is there is no such thing as anonymous, and the things you say and do can and will come back to haunt you. Okay. Next, augmented reality. So in short, I'll refer to this as AR because saying augmented reality does not roll off my tongue. So I don't know if it came here. I'm a little old to be playing Pokemon Go, but you guys may be aware that there was a game that came out 3 years ago called Pokemon Go, and essentially on your phone you could walk around in real life and capture Pokemon. I think there's a Harry Potter version now. I think The Witcher is making a series. So, but Pokemon Go was the first very popular one. It was a game. It was designed to be fun. And like a lot of new technologies, gaming is where the technology kind of starts to get honed and starts to get good. What I'm suggesting to you is this is only the beginning, and that there is going to be a layer of reality that is only going to exist in augmented reality. You are not going to be able to access this layer of reality with your eyeballs or with your biology. So sometimes cyber people refer to it as the meat space. So meat as in miasa. This level of reality will not be accessible simply through the meat space. So your eyes and your ears. You will need some kind of device in order to access this layer of reality. Now, today, that's a smartphone, right? And tomorrow, it's going to be goggles or glasses. In the future, it may be a brain implant. I know Mr. Elon Musk is already working on brain interfaces, which is a scary step. Here's what I'm suggesting to you. Many spheres of businesses are going to be moving to augmented reality. So, for example, your school right now may not soon, but in the future, your kids may be going to school through an augmented reality. They may be sitting in your house, but it may be looking to them like their teacher is standing next to them. And maybe their classmates, when they look around through their goggles, all of their classmates are virtually sitting around them. The Internet of Things is going to introduce, it is going to continue to add to this layer. So if you think about self-driving cars, and we'll get to self-driving cars in the future, they're all going to rely on billions of sensors that are going to be put throughout the world. So on every street corner, at every doorway, there's going to be motion sensors, there's going to be temperature sensors, there's going to be video, and all of these sensors are going to be feeding into this layer of reality, again, that is going to only be accessible if you have certain devices. Most of this layer is not actually going to be for humans. Just like the internet now, the internet is mostly inaccessible by you as a human. So you may have heard of the dark net. Well, the dark net is many things, but most of the dark net is referring to all of the information that is passing back and forth that really is just from machine to machine and program to program. It's not in a human language, and it's not visible by human eyes. You're able to see some of the internet with a browser, but most of the internet is the dark web that is essentially machine talk to machine talk. This new layer of augmented reality is going to be the same thing. There's going to be petabytes of information passing back and forth that is feeding into this. Now, again, this is going to be fascinating. It's going to be great. What happens if you don't have the equipment to access this reality? What happens if you're born into a poor country and you are left behind? The difference between the developed world and the undeveloped world right now is it's a far gap, but it's movable. It's not completely different realities. As we move into more augmented realities, the people living in the developed world with the equipment, with the money, are going to be experiencing a fundamental different reality than everyone else is. And what does this mean? What is going to happen? And I don't have a question. Again, technology is a tool, but it never answers a question. And it is never the goal. Technology is there to help us accomplish something. And oftentimes, almost always, technology moves faster than our thinking does, our philosophy does, our ethics are far behind where our technology is. And so each of these questions are ethical questions. They're what do we do when we develop this new tool, and what does it mean for us as a species, as a society? Okay. Next one. Okay. This one, I'm going to break down quantum computing as much as I can. So you may or may not have heard the term quantum computing before. Quantum computing, in essence, is the next generation of supercomputers, but it is a fundamental jump in computing power. So, how to break it down? Right now, all computing is binary, meaning it is zeros and ones. Everything. This broadcast right now, the email messages on your phone, everything you see and do with computers right now can be broken down to zeros and ones. And essentially, the zeros and ones is on and off. That is zeros and ones. And as you build, you add zeros and ones, you start to create numbers and words and instructions. But it all boils down to 0 and 1. And that's because when computing goes down to the circuit level, essentially a circuit is either on or off. It's either closed or open. So that is all computing now. And now we have shrunk these circuits down to the atomic level. But at the end of the day, the current way computing works is still circuit on, circuit off. Now, quantum computing is the idea that a circuit now could have an infinite number of settings between on and off. So right now, if you're thinking about a question, it has a yes or no. Quantum computing says not all questions now have a yes or no answer. So there are an infinite number of answers between yes and no. So what this means is computers, instead of having to get billions of circuits together to answer a question, you now can have less and less circuits to answer questions. So now we're talking about not being 10 times faster, not being 100 times faster. We're talking about millions or billions of times faster to do computation. So what does that mean for encryption? Okay, encryption is basically the science and the math of making things secret. So when right now this broadcast is not open, it's not like just a voice. This is an encrypted broadcast, meaning that if you're not invited to this meeting, you can't see this broadcast. The computing power exists now to try and break that encryption. And the encryption we have now is strong. It's very difficult to break. And right now, most of the things on the internet that we do, with the current computing power, it would take anywhere from 10 to 1,000 years to break the encryption. Going back to quantum computing, once quantum computing comes online, that 10 years now goes down to maybe a day to break encryption, or maybe less. Okay, so what does that mean? Remember when I talked about how everything on the internet is still accessible, it's still out there. A lot of it is encrypted. So every message you have ever sent by Gmail or mail.ru or whatever, it exists in archives that can be accessible. It's encrypted right now. But what happens when those things can be decrypted instantly? Everything that you thought that you did that was secret on the internet since the beginning of the internet someday may be able to be decrypted instantly. So some ethicists, some futurists have begun to think of this idea of someday there will be the great decrypting, where one day someone may make the entirety of the internet and the entirety of the history of the internet decrypted and available for everyone to see. Now, will it be easily searchable? What will this look like? Nobody knows. But the idea is what we think is secure today, tomorrow will not be secure. And so there is a race between the people developing the quantum computing and the people writing new encryption methods to make sure that we still can have secrecy when we do online. Secrets, there are a time and place for secrets. So if you are doing a bank transaction, you want to make sure that your credit card is secret. So you want to be able to communicate with your bank, make a transaction without other people seeing it, right? So of course, we don't want the criminals to be able to operate online and be able to outsmart the police. But at the same time, encryption is just math. And so it's either working or it's not working. The question here is, what do we do? If we cannot outrun our computing, how do we maintain secrets? And I don't have an answer. This is a really difficult problem, as in somebody who works for cybersecurity for a government. All governments want to have the ability to communicate secretly. So it is a difficult problem, again, without an answer, but it's coming, and it's something we're all going to have to deal with. Quantum computing is a very complex topic. I hope the explanation that I gave makes sense. If not, during questions and answers, you can answer me. I'm not a computer engineer, and so I will do what I can to answer if you guys have questions about it. Okay, my favorite part. The trolley problem. So this is a theoretical ethical dilemma. The trolley problem says this: you are the person in red. You have the ability to switch tracks. There is a trolley that is out of control, and it's coming towards this group of people. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can redirect the track. So currently, in its simplest form, if you do nothing, the trolley is going to kill 5 people. The ethical question is, do you push the lever, move the trolley to go down, and kill the 1 person instead of 5 people? Seems like a relatively simple ethical problem, right? That is the basis of it. Now, you start adding different forms. What if the 1 person on the track is your mother? Do you still switch the track and kill your mother to save 5 people? Don't know. That is a personal question. And interestingly, different societies answer that question differently. And I'm not looking for answers, and I'm not going to ask anyone to answer this question publicly. But it is a problem for you to think about when we go to the next slide. There are also different permutations with this, but this is the basis of the problem. Now, what happens when the trolley is deciding what it's going to do? There's no longer a person at the switch. The car, in this case, so we're skipping ahead here. We're no longer really talking about a trolley. We're talking about a self-driving car. Now, imagine there's a self-driving car that is going to run into 5 people, and it has to decide that it runs and kills 5 people or it kills 1 person. It swerves and kills 1 person. Okay, it is an ethical dilemma. The rules are similar but a little bit different. But now the car has to decide, what if it's going to save 5 people and kill 1 person, but the 1 person it kills is the driver? What if it's the person inside the car, the customer who bought the car? That's a tricky problem. So nobody is going to buy a car if they know that the car is going to kill them rather than kill 5 people. And maybe it's not 5 people, maybe it's 2 people. So if you know that you're going to buy a self-driving car and the car is going to do that, you are probably going to be less likely to buy that car. Now, what happens if the rules for what the car does is different from one country to another? So let's say you buy a self-driving car in America And the rules say with one thing, but when you cross the border and you go to Mexico or you go to Canada, the rules say a different thing. I don't know. Again, that's a programming problem. Now here comes the real problem. When we're talking about a human controlling the lever on the trolley, that human is accountable. We can look at that human and we can say, listen, you made a decision. Can you explain why you did that? And that person has to live with their decision. When we're talking about self-driving cars, we're going to be talking about programmers who are going to be making that decision. So it's literally just code in a computer that is going to tell that car what to do. We don't have the level of AI where a car is going to be able to think, right? Maybe someday we're going to be coming there, but for right now, there is going to be hard code that tells that car what to do. Now, I don't know how many coders you know. I know a couple, and I'm not sure that I want them making life and death decisions for me as a passenger. So what does that mean? I don't know. It means that at some point, whether it's a government or shareholders or the UN, somebody is going to have to work on standards for how we do this. There's got to be a way for an independent body to review these decisions. And a lot of times the code is so complicated that even the people who write it don't know how it works. Right now, with a lot of AI, with a lot of bots, a bot is basically, it's not quite artificial intelligence, but a bot is we'll take a bot, for example, that recognizes dogs in pictures, right? You post a picture to a lot of different services, and it can recognize that it's a dog. It took thousands upon thousands of computer hours to train a bot, to train a program to be able to recognize dogs, right? Someone didn't write that code. Essentially, that program was trained to do that. And now that bot is so complicated that no one can really exactly understand how it does it. We just have trained it to do it, and we don't really know how that bot does it. This is the scary thing about programming, especially with AI. So what likely is going to happen is the programming for our self-driving cars is going to be so complex that we may actually never know how that car makes that decision. Now, again, I don't have an answer for this. I'm not sure that Elon Musk is working on this problem feverishly. I know his lawyers are worried about it because as soon as self-driving cars get out there, and when someone gets hurt or killed by a self-driving car, you know who's going to get sued. It's going to be the car manufacturer and possibly the owner. So again, I don't have an answer to this question, but I want you to think about it, because you are all going to be pedestrians, and you are all going to be seeing self-driving cars going down the street. Now, whether that's tomorrow or 10 years from now, it is a reality that self-driving cars are coming. Okay, I think I've got one more question. No, I don't. Those are all my questions. Those are the 5 questions. Now, there are many other questions that keep me up at night. But here's the takeaway that I want you to have from this, okay? Recognizing that you're taking part in a transaction, knowing that these companies are not charities, that they are there for your information and to sell your information. Take it upon yourself to learn some basic coding and to learn some basic cybersecurity. So once upon a time, the only people that really needed to know coding were the coders, right? We are entering a new reality where coding is another language that you need to learn. So your parents all advise you that you should learn English. Maybe your teachers advise you should learn English, because learning English gives you access to all kinds of things that you might not have access to. So for example, if you learn some English, You can turn into a podcast or to a video and watch a fascinating person give a presentation on cybersecurity and ethics. If you don't speak English, you don't have access to this, right? The same is true for coding, right? So there, again, is going to be all kinds of facets of our society and facets of our reality that you really are going to have to understand at least a little bit of coding in order to do it. So I would recommend that everybody on this podcast or on this cast learn a little Java, learn a little Python, learn a little C++. It will pay dividends later, whether you go into coding as a profession or whether you are a teacher or a doctor or you work in sanitation. Whatever you end up doing, it's very likely in the future knowing a little bit of coding will benefit you. Okay, next, being an engaged citizen. So by attending this, you are already ahead of the curve. You are already engaged. And I normally do this presentation with people and I can look you in the eye and I can sincerely see how interested and engaged my audience is. Right now, I'm staring into a screen and I can't see you. I'm going to assume that you guys all aren't playing Fortnite while I'm giving this presentation and that you're actually engaged. And I've hoped you might not have learned something, but my hope is that you have, I have piqued your interest or made you think about something that maybe you didn't think about before. I want you to build on that. I want you to take that and I want you to talk to your friends about it. I want you to talk to your family about this, because the problems that I mentioned in here are not my problem alone, and they're not your problem. They are really problems that we all as a society are going to have to grapple with. And I want you to ask your teachers about them. I want you to ask your peers about them. And I want you to think about them and wrestle with them. Because again, there's not an answer to those. Your background, your morals, your upbringing, your society may indicate to you what is the right answer. But you as an individual need to use that background and think about the answer for yourself. And then last and most importantly, everything you do is online forever. This broadcast is going to be online forever. There is no deleting it. It might be hard to access later, but even if the links are gone, it's still on the internet. It's in a database somewhere. So the same goes for your emails, your videos, the pictures you take. So everyone who is young out there, please, please, please think very carefully before you take a picture or you share a picture. And I'm not going to go into more details. I know you know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to ask you to be very smart and think twice before you take a picture of something and post it online or send it via a service. Even if it says this will self-delete, it's not going to self-delete. The rule that I use is if I would not show it to my grandmother, I do not send a picture of it online. It has served me well, and I would like all of you to adopt that presentation. So I've left my personal email on here. If you guys want to, if you have questions and you don't have time to answer them online, please feel free to email me. I do not have Facebook. I don't have a cyber or a social media presence. So if you're looking to friend me on a service, I don't have them. I have decided not to engage in that transaction with Facebook. So go ahead and please feel free to email me at my personal email address. Let me switch back here to what I'm seeing here. Okay, so I'm going to ask Gulshan to step back on and help me work through if we've got any questions.
We do have some questions. Thank you, Brian. So many questions to think about. Well, so the first question is from someone, I can't read his name because it's in Korean, I guess.
You don't read Korean?
No. What happens if you share your cookies?
Okay. So for those of you who know what a cookie is, please bear with me. So every time you go to a website, that website is going to try to install a tiny little file on your browser history. And sometimes this is not malicious, right? Sometimes this little file that we call a cookie, all it does is let that website know that you've been to their website. And if you come back, it lets it know, oh, this person is returning. A lot of times, if you go to a website where you can change the settings, or you can have preferences, or you're signing in, that cookie grows. And there's a little bit more information on there than just your personal settings. There are some websites that, in order for you to access them, force you to download what we call a super cookie. What a super cookie does is not only allow the website to see what you've done on their website, that super cookie can also collect information about your computer. It can collect information about where else you are browsing. It can collect a lot of personal information and then share it back with the website. So there is a fundamental problem here. Now, again, what are these websites doing with your information? They're selling it. It's part of their business model. So the problem becomes, many of these websites require you to use a cookie in order to access the website. So I think I'm addressing the question, maybe not. So what happens when you allow the websites to install cookies, or share the cookies basically between your computer and the website? You are potentially sharing a lot of personal information with that website. So there are a couple of browser tools that can help reduce that. So I know Firefox actually has been kind of on the forefront of privacy settings. So Chrome has some things that will do ad blocking. But the problem is, if you block these things, it's very likely you can't use it. So I don't know. I just ran into this on something. I think maybe it was Zoom. I had to get on a Zoom meeting, and I couldn't get into Zoom unless I allowed cookies. And again, if I wanted to use the service, I got to install the cookie. So again, it's a transaction. Every time, it's not just when you search, it's when you go onto a website, you may be engaging in a transaction. That's a great question. I hope I answered it out there.
All right, thank you. Okay, next question from Abdurrahman Valijanov. He said that he has an important question. Which social networks or apps are most popular in America, and why are they popular?
Great question. So I'm going to tell you a secret. I actually haven't lived in America for about 11 years. I visit, but I've been overseas for a long time. That's not to say that I don't. I spend a lot of time actually researching and reading on cybersecurity, so I do know a little bit. So I guess I don't have numbers in front of me, but the most popular social networks in America right now are Facebook and Instagram. And actually, Facebook and Instagram are the same company. So essentially, Facebook is the most popular. Why is it the most popular? Well, Facebook does a lot of research to make their product very appealing to people. I used to have Facebook, and the interface was good. It kept me engaged. They have psychologists and engineers working around the clock to make sure that they have a product that keeps your eyeballs glued to it as much as possible. So they've been very popular because they provide a good product, that is both a good experience on your phone and a good experience on the web. Now, again, I don't particularly like the service, and there's a lot of reasons why I don't. That more has to do with humans than it does with Facebook. I don't like Facebook's privacy policies. I don't trust Facebook, but they deliver a great product that people like. Now, here's the thing with popularity, right? So with a lot of things that the kids like, the kids were the first ones to adopt Facebook. So Facebook started off as a college, like a college campus social media, and kind of spread from colleges, and then the audience was people in their 20s, and then it was younger people, and now by the time that your grandmother has Facebook, it might not be as popular with the kids anymore. So to be honest with you, I don't know. I know TikTok has been very popular with 14-year-olds, and that's problematic because TikTok also has some privacy issues. So the truth is, by the time I know about it as a 43-year-old man, the kids, it might not be as popular with the kids anymore. So by the time I've said TikTok, the kids aren't using TikTok anymore. Am I wrong, Gulshan? You're hip. You're kind of cool. What are the kids using?
Maybe TikTok, a lot of Instagram and Facebook now.
Yeah.
I don't use TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't really get TikTok, but again, I am not the audience for TikTok. So I don't know if I answered that question. Facebook and Instagram.
Thank you. All right, and we have a lot of people who like your topic. Dildora Kasimova says, great topic. US Embassy Tashkent says, this is really fascinating. Thanks so much, Brian. And Nargiza Mirova says, very interesting watching with my 13-year-old daughter. Many thanks. And Dania Hasanova says, this is very informative session. And there is a question.
By the way, to the person that is watching with their 13-year-old daughter, that is awesome, because talking to adults, it's too late for you guys. It's too late. You guys have already done dumb things. 13-year-olds, that is the audience that I'd love to reach. So thanks for joining.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to remind everyone who are watching us, please type your comments and questions, and while we are still here. So there is a question from Abdurrahman Valijanov. What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of studying online? And is it going to be more popular in the nearest future?
Great question. So everybody, I'm sure everybody on this broadcast has been touched in some way or form by virtual learning. I have a 7-year-old in 2nd grade, and the end of 1st grade for him was virtual, and he's Likey, never even heard of Likey. Yeah, see, but anyway, sorry, I'm watching the comments too. So virtual learning. So the advantages, right, is us here in Tashkent, we can go online right now and we can see Harvard courses, right? They're online. You can take a Harvard course right now. And 10 years ago, there was no way you would ever be able to get that level of instruction without going to Harvard. So I think the huge advantage is there is going to be I think online learning isn't going away. I think it's here to stay, and I think it's just going to grow. I think there's going to be a revolution in education. So it's actually happening right now in America. So almost all universities in America right now have gone to virtual learning. They have not adjusted their prices, and students are not happy about paying $25,000 to $45,000 a year to take an online course. What the universities used to promise was a campus experience, right? You go, you live in the dorm, you meet your friends, you sit on the quad, you listen to guitar, you meet interesting people, you do all of these things that's part of the college experience. When you go to online learning, that all disappears. And it's a struggle right now. And it's not just with online learning, it's with online working as well. So how do I interact with my peers online? One of the ways that I'm most effective as an information management officer is by actually physically interacting with my coworkers, stopping by their office, seeing what they're working on, that just sitting and getting to know them and building rapport, having a relationship with other humans. I don't know how to do that virtually right now. And so that's the problem in the workplace. The problem in school is it's the same issue. School is not just about getting the information. School is about learning to interact with your peers, learning from your peers. We don't grow up in a vacuum. We're all influenced by the people around us. And so when you take away those physical interactions, what are you losing? And I think you're losing a lot. So just focusing on my son, right, making this personal, he doesn't know the other second graders. It's hard to say any of these kids are his friends. He's never met them. And so he might spend the next 3 months in a virtual classroom with them, and maybe he gets to kind of know them, but will they be friends like they would be friends if they were playing on the playground or making fun of each other or eating lunch together? I don't think they can. And I don't think we as a species have figured out how to maintain personal connections with people, especially strangers, virtually. And so I think the biggest disadvantage of online education is your peer interaction. So I go to a lot of trainings. In the before times, I used to go to trainings, and the information I got, the training was fine, but the real advantage was me talking to the other people who did my job, going to dinner with them, listening to their experiences, telling jokes with each other, and becoming friends with them. I've taken 3 online courses now, and you just don't get that. I don't know how to make a connection online. So I see that as the biggest disadvantage. The biggest advantage, of course, is access. I wouldn't be able to take these courses otherwise because I can't travel. I haven't left the country since February. So yeah.
Yeah. I think this is what we are experiencing right now at American Center Tashkent. We had to move everything to virtual reality,
Right.
and we don't have that personal engagement, but we have people from all around the country have access to us now, like those who wouldn't.
Right. So somebody out in Nukus can join, or somebody down in Kitob can get on, and no, I think that part is amazing, and I think it's wonderful. But yeah, there's a trade-off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Brian. So Drdona Anvarva is asking, some apps are downloaded without my permission on my computer. What should I do?
That's a good question. Drdona, I'm sorry that's happening to you. Without knowing the specifics of your computer, there's half a dozen different reasons. I'm going to assume that you have a legitimate licensed copy of Windows or some other operating system on your computer. If you don't, if you're using pirated software, now I'm going to beat the drum here. So, and I know you guys are all going to roll your eyes, but I'm going to tell you, a legitimate non-pirated copy of an operating system like Windows is going to be much more protected and much more secure than the one that you downloaded off of a Tor, or that your friend gave you to you on a disk, or that sketchy computer company at the corner of your neighborhood sold to you for 100,000 Soom. And it's expensive. Listen, security is expensive. If you're using So it's very likely that you have downloaded something called malware. So malware is a bad program, and that bad program is the one that is also downloading stuff. So if you're using a Tor or some kind of file sharing service, it's very likely that if you downloaded pirated software, that it contained malware and that it's doing this. If the computer were mine, I would probably wipe it clean and start fresh, and then be very careful about what you do. You can download, there's some anti-malware software that you can get out there that's legitimate. But the problem is, a lot of times when you're downloading anti-malware software, if you're not getting it from a real place, you might be just installing more malware on your computer. So, sorry, Dordona, it's hard to diagnose remotely, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope you have a very legitimate copy and some anti-malware. Windows Defender. So on a legitimate copy of Windows Defender actually does a pretty decent job of protecting your computer from viruses and malware.
All right, wonderful. So U.S. Embassy Tashkent are saying a good newish app in the U.S. is a Nextdoor app. Do you know that one?
Listen, Gulshan, you're going to have to track down who this person is. Or is this from Facebook?
This is Facebook.
Okay. Is this one of our coworkers posting this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to go through all the computer logs because there is no anonymity. No, I haven't heard of Nextdoor app. But again, by the time I hear about it, like, the kids will have moved on. What does it do, U.S. Embassy Tashkent?
We'll see what they answer. Okay. And so Abdurrahman Walijanov is asking, what website can you recommend us in order to learn coding like Python, C++, or such beneficial programs that we need to learn? Yes. As you just advised us. Any free websites to learn?
Yes. So right now, Google is actually offering some free coding. So Google is actually trying to get into the be part of the online education revolution. So they're going to be offering kind of certifications through their own site. Right now, they're offering a number of courses for free. So if you go to Google and you type in free coding programs, or learn Python or learn C++, you'll see actually a couple of Google programs that will allow you to do that. There's another one. Hold on. Let me look here. There was one called. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. It was called Grasshopper or Cricket. Hold on. Okay, grasshopper.app. So I literally just downloaded, or I just Googled grasshopper coding. It is a, and listen, like everything, this is a business, so I'm sure it offers a little bit of free stuff, and then there's pay. But that's something that I was advising people to use before. So it teaches basic coding. So I'm gonna Google it for you. Hold on. Free coding on Google. Let's see. Yeah, you just got, oh, okay, so Code Academy was another one. Actually, Code Academy was something that I was recommending to my own people recently. So CODE, Code Academy.
Code Academy.
Code Academy. Yeah. .com. But like I said, if you just Google, learn to code or free coding, you're going to come across, dozens of websites. Now, again, be careful. going back to the previous thing, if it's free, you're the product. So it's going to ask you for some information, you know, name, where you're from, your email address, maybe how old you are. Just be aware. But again, that transaction might be worth it. And listen, they're going to take your email address and they're going to add it. You're going to start getting spam from them, right? But maybe that's worth it.
Right. And also I want to add that American Center Tashkent is going to launch a Python course very soon. So look at the announcements, and you can register, and it's going to be an online free course. All right. So we have a question from Dania Hasanova. She says that she sees a lot of ads appear on her social media accounts based on the websites she has visited. How does search engine work? Is there a possibility to turn off these features?
So, Danya, great question. And first, before I go on, shout out to Bree. Hope to see you soon, Bree. So the Facebook installs a super cookie on your computer. So Facebook sees everywhere that you browse. Whether you're doing it on your phone or on your website or on a browser, they're doing. How do you stop this? So you can do, what's it called? Like privacy browsing. So I know on Chrome it's called like privacy on, or I'm sorry, incognito window. So if you want to do shopping and you don't want Facebook to know, if you open up an incognito window, that incognito window, everything that you do in it is not necessarily going to be shared with that Facebook cookie. If you've got the Facebook app on your phone, it's very likely there's nothing you can do to stop Facebook from accessing what you're seeing. If you go into, if I recall correctly, if you go into the privacy settings with in Facebook, you can actually reset or turn off your individual ad. You basically have an ad profile. So Facebook really, really wants to personalize the ads they send you. You can turn that off so your ads aren't necessarily, you're still going to get ads, but they won't be as personalized. So again, I don't have it in front of me, but if you go into Facebook's privacy settings and you go into ads, you can go in there and kind of customize whether you get personalized. Now again, that is not going to stop them from seeing what websites you've been to. And listen, they're also mining what you say and what you chat inside the app itself. So for example, you know, if you're talking to your friend about babies, you may start getting ads for diapers. That's just the new reality. Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. Hopefully.
Abdurrahman is asking how many times you have traveled to Uzbekistan and what impressions you have about our country and people.
Sure. So I lived here and I lived in Tashkent proper from 17 years ago exactly. So I arrived in August of 2003 and left in July of 2004. So my impression, and I arrived here about a year ago, a year and a month ago. So I got here in August of 2019, and I hadn't been back since. And no, I'm sorry, that's not true. I came for a month in July of 2018 just to come check it out and see if I wanted to come here to work.
And you did a chai chat at that time.
And I did a chai chat there. Yes, I did. Me and chai chat go back. So my impression. So the country is significantly different than 17 years ago. You know, I got the impression 17 years ago, it still felt very Soviet. Even in 2003, it still looked very Soviet. It felt very Soviet, and I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like Uzbekistan has come a long way in really reestablishing its own identity, and some of it's in just how the streets look. I don't know. Maybe it's because the tramways are gone. but like just when I flew in for the first time last year, it felt different. You know, there's more cafes, there's more the buildings. You know, a lot of the old kvartieri, a lot of the old buildings are gone, and so you know, listen. You guys live here, you know. There's still parts of Tashkent and Uzbekistan that look exactly like 1979 Soviet Union. But Tashkent, like I said, I don't get that feeling anymore, and I don't think people who visit get that feeling. And listen, the reason I came back here was for the people. I love Uzbeks. I love this country. Uzbeks are some of the friendliest people that I have come across, and since I joined the Foreign Service, my goal was to always come back here as a diplomat and experience it again. And I have found everybody to be as warm and welcoming as they were when I was here as a Peace Corps volunteer. So, do I love plov every day? Not so much. Listen, I like plov every once in a while as much as the next guy. I like a lot of Uzbek food. I love your produce. You guys have some of the best fruit and vegetables I've ever had. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. And yeah, we have the answer from the US Embassy Tashkent about the app.
Is this about next door?
Next door, yeah. The app. You register with your address and it connects you with events and people that live nearby. People also post about things for sale, local news, crime, lost pets, etc. It's really useful and informative, especially if you move around a lot like a diplomat.
It sounds like a privacy nightmare. Listen, that actually sounds pretty cool. You know, actually, those are some features that I know that Facebook was working on, and I don't know that they succeeded, but I don't know. That sounds pretty cool. It sounds like a good way to connect with your local community. I'm gonna stay off of it, but that's me. I'm like a paranoid tinfoil hat wearing a nut. It's very likely that my wife already has this app on her phone. I'll have to ask her.
All right. And unfortunately, we have to wrap up. We already are late. And I want to finish with a wonderful comment from Brianna Claude. This was a really great chat. So much great information. Thank you. And thank you, Brian, so much. It was so interesting and really a lot of helpful things that people will use in their lives.
I'm glad to hear it. And listen, I promise the next time we do a chai chat, I will have much cooler facial hair. We'll bring back the mustache at least.
Okay, we will note it. We will write it down and let you know later. Thanks so much for your time, Brian.
Thanks, Gulshan. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This was fun.
Yeah. Thanks everyone.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks everyone for wonderful questions, and tune in next Friday, same time. Bye.